You've heard it a million times, right? Follow your passion. It's like the golden rule of career advice. But what if it's not just wrong, but actually kind of dangerous? We're about to dive into a personal story from author Dawn Durante that completely dismantles this whole idea, and trust me, it's a journey.
So, this is where it all kicks off. Donna Durante just comes right out and says it. He was a true believer, hook, line, and sinker. And man, that belief took him on one heck of a ride. We're talking from teaching in Japan to spinning records as a DJ, all the way to a fancy corporate office, right before the whole thing just imploded. So, you're probably asking, how did it go that wrong? Well, first up, he was all in on his passion for Japanese culture. Spent 6 years over there as a teacher. Awesome, right? Then he comes back to the US and jumps headfirst into another passion, DJing. He starts his own business, pours his heart and soul into it, but yeah, the timeline here tells the real story. 2 passions, 1 outcome, bankruptcy.
And the whiplash between the highs and lows is just, wow. I mean, the highs were high. He talks about being in that perfect state of flow, total creative freedom. But the lows, they were absolutely crushing. We're talking mountains of debt, a relentless nonstop hustle, and just pure bone-deep exhaustion. Turns out passion alone doesn't exactly keep the lights on.
Okay, so the DJ dream is officially dead. To dig himself out of bankruptcy, he has to pivot. And he picks what he thinks is a safer, more stable passion, men's fashion. This was his big play to find a way to do something he loved that would actually, pay. It was time to put on a suit and start climbing that corporate ladder.
And wow, did he climb. He starts out in retail, uses his self-taught web skills to jump into e-commerce, and he just crushes it in the startup scene. He was working insane hours, like treating his work addiction as a badge of honor. And you know what? It worked. Against all odds, he gets that coveted VP title. He'd made it. He was in corporate heaven.
But this is where the story takes a huge turn. Right when he felt like he'd finally made it, a company merger comes along and just pulls the rug out from under him. All that work, all those sacrifices, just gone. Poof. He was laid off. That corporate heaven he'd clawed his way into, it just showed him the door.
And here's the kicker. That layoff, it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a one-off thing. It was the first of 5. 5 layoffs and terminations in the next decade. At that point, you can't just call it bad luck, right? It was a pattern, a brutal pattern that forced him to rethink everything he thought he knew about work, passion, and ambition.
So what do you even do when your career keeps exploding? I mean, it's easy to just blame yourself. But Don did something different. He started looking for the bigger picture, for some kind of answer in all the chaos. And that's when he started to uncover some really profound truths. He started digging into the data, and what he found was pretty shocking, especially about the culture he was a part of. We all hear about Japan's overwork culture, right? Well, it turns out Americans, on average, actually work more hours. And here in the US, we don't call it a problem. We call it ambition. But he had to ask, was this relentless grind actually doing anyone any good? So, after all this soul-searching, he boiled it all down to 3 huge truths. Okay, first, getting laid off is a business decision. It's not a verdict on you as a person. Second, and this is a big one, if your entire sense of self is wrapped up in your job title, you are setting yourself up for a world of hurt. And third, and this one is tough to swallow, sometimes getting fired is actually a gift in disguise. All of these lessons, all this turmoil, it all led to a completely new way of thinking. He just stopped. He stopped chasing the mythical dream job and started building a whole new framework for himself. He calls it the sufficient job. So what on earth is a sufficient job? It's pretty simple, actually. It's a job that's challenging enough, it pays the bills, and, this is the most important part, it leaves you with enough energy to actually live your life. This isn't about settling for less, but notice what's not in that definition: passion, identity. The job doesn't have to be your passion, and it sure as heck doesn't have to define who you are.
And this really lays it all out, doesn't it? The dream job myth says your work is supposed to be your identity, to be your passion, and in exchange, it demands everything from you. The sufficient job completely flips that around. It supports your identity, it funds your other passions, and it actually respects your boundaries. What a concept, right?
And this quote from Anis Mosgani just hits the nail on the head. Some people work doing what they love. Other people work so that they can do what they love when they're not working.
Neither is more noble. For so long, Don thought only that first option was the right way. But now he gets it. That second path is just as valid. And honestly, for a lot of us, it's a whole lot healthier.
Okay, so this is all great in theory, but how do you actually apply it? Well, in this amazing full-circle moment, Don realized the perfect metaphor for his entire career was hiding back in his old DJing days.
So picture this. His old DJ mentor, a guy named Charlie, comes up to him during a set and asks, "You planning to play your set or read the room?" See, Don had his playlist all planned out, perfect in his mind, but the crowd wasn't feeling it, and it hit him. That's exactly what he'd been doing with his life. He was stubbornly sticking to a career playlist instead of actually reading the room and figuring out what his life truly needed.
And that's really what this all boils down to. This final, powerful question he asks. And it's not just for him to answer. It's for you, it's for me, it's for all of us. What are you trading for your current career? Your time? Your health? Your relationships with people you care about? Take a second and really think about it. Is that trade-off still worth it?
This whole story, this incredible reevaluation of work, is part of a series Don Durante shares on LinkedIn that he calls his Goldilocks journey. And I love that, because it's not about finding the one single perfect job. It's about finding the one that's just right for you right now. It's such a powerful reminder that maybe the smartest career move isn't to keep climbing, but to have the courage to step off the ladder completely.